So after UFC 328 of the weekend, Sean Strickland dethroning Hamzat Chimaev. We're going to be going through every single fight that I think needs to take place after that massive upset at the weekend. We're going to be going through some of the biggest names in the sport, talking about what matchups I think is going to be happening next. And I've a good feeling about a lot of these boys. And there's some absolutely sick matchups going to be taking place on this. But the road to 5K has begun. Hit that subscribe button, boys. The channel is popping at the moment. Thank you all for the love. But still, let's start here with the main man at the weekend. Sean, no matter how big of an upset I'm going to win, Strickland gets it done. And there's only one fight to make. Him versus Nassim Imavov in a rematch is the only fight to make. Now, you could have made a case for Nassim Imavov being in that cage on Saturday night. And you have probably had every single right to make that case, okay? But finishes in your last fight is a massive thing. And Nassim Imavov, I know he KO'd Adesanya and things like that. But you see Joe Pyfer beating Adesanya. You see Strickland beating Adesanya. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's just not... It's not as entertaining as well. I know Imavov knocked out Adesanya, like I said, but he doesn't have the on-mic skills of Sean Strickland. He doesn't have the personal rivalry with Chimaev that we've seen Sean Strickland go in there and be with against many other opponents like Adesanya, bringing up the dogs and things like that because of them Meguru, which is crazy. But still, look how much he built that fight against Chimaev. Imavov would never do that. Like, ever, bro. Okay, I'm sorry that the preacher sign is down. I'm getting some stuff for it. Relax. Strickland is obviously a way bigger name, and star value is so essential in this sport, and that's why Nassim Imavov missed out. But this is an interesting fight. Obviously, this would be a rematch. I would be picking Sean Strickland to win. I would love to see this at the end of the summer. Strickland did take a lot of damage, so maybe it could be October, November, even at MSG, maybe a main event, co-main event to something big. We don't really know what way this is going to fit in. September could be good, but the fact Strickland beat him like a week's notice doesn't fill me with joy if you're an Nassim Imavov fan. And that was really fat Strickland. I don't know if anyone remembers that. Strickland was not in shape in that cage. He was a fat blob. And one thing that Chimaev fight really showed me about Sean Strickland, he can do it walking back. He can do it on the back foot. He doesn't necessarily need the forward pressure and him backing his opponent up. When he was kind of getting backed up by Chimaev, he found an awful lot of success with the 1-2. And that 1-2 was opening just way more combinations on the feet for Strickland, even though he beat Hamzat Chimaev by just using a 1-2 down the pipe. Which is literally crazy, because when I was watching tape on the fight, I was like, no way does Sean Strickland have a chance, bro. Chimaev's even good on the feet, bro. He's even good on the feet. But Strickland pulled it off. Hamzat gassed out. It was Sean Strickland's night. Nassim Imavov has shown massive improvements. You know, knocking out Adesanya, like I said. Getting a very good win against Kyle Brower. Picking up a very good win against Brendan Allen when he lost the first round. I still don't think it's enough. I feel like for Strickland, you need Dricus du Plessis kind of style, of that kind of blitzing forward and getting in your face. Not engaging in the 1-2s and things like that. Not kind of trading with him. If you trade with Strickland, you're probably going to just be one shot behind, because he does have good counters. And he's just constantly moving forward with pressure and constantly just overloading you with shots. They're not doing much damage, but they add up over time. But Dricus was kind of using like a blitz movement to get in, and it really caught Sean off guard, because Dricus was very hard to hit. That's the thing about Dricus. He lunges kind of in, throws like a gaping overhand and things like that, or a nice straight right, whatever he's kind of feeling, and then he could throw up a head kick. Dricus has such a unique style. It's extremely hard to figure out, and Strickland's style is not good for that. And that's why Dricus was able to get the nod. That's why Dricus got the win twice, and especially in dominating fashion the second time. Strickland is not meant for that kind of a style. He's perfect for a Nassim Imavov. He's perfect for an Israel Adesanya. He's perfect for a lot of these strikers. You know, I know Jared Cannonier picked up the win. Jared Cannonier even kind of has blitzing movement, but you know, he'd piece up Kyle Baraujo, he'd piece up Brandon the Ritter, and I feel like he's going to piece up Nassim Imavov. The blitzing movement that Dricus presents with the kind of massive amount of combinations, the right hand, the left hook, and then a high kick, it's a lot for Strickland to process at once. It's a lot for all of these fighters to process at once, which is why Dricus was going on such a tear, because he was so unorthodox, so sloppy, bro. If we're just being real, it was so sloppy. And Strickland couldn't figure it out. So I think Nassim Imavov versus Sean Strickland makes an awful lot of sense. I'm so happy Strickland won, bro. I'm so happy Strickland won, because Strickland is just so entertaining. And, you know, after the fight, he was super humble as well. So I'm actually a massive Sean Strickland fan. I am a massive Sean Strickland fan, and I think Strickland at the top of the sport is always going to be better than an inactive Hamzat Chimaev. A Strickland champion is always going to be better than a Hamzat Chimaev. We never saw a Hamzat fight, man. It was his first title defense, and he nearly had the belt for a year, taking fucking 0 damage in his entire middleweight career. That's not even a fucking joke. The bum is always on the sidelines. It's a fucking joke. Okay, and he comes in there and gasses out in the first round. Yes, he looked incredible in the first round. Yes, he is incredible wrestling. But fuck that, bro. Fuck that, man. I don't care. I don't care. I want to see entertaining champions who fight often. Hamzat was neither. Neither, bro. As a champion, he was not. The Chimaev we saw before is long gone. And I always said Hamzat Chimaev is good for the UFC when he fights. And when he fights the way he used to fight. People forget, man, 2021, 2022 Chimaev was picking people up and slamming them on their fucking head. That's what Hamzat was known for. But now, he's just known for being a boring grappler. We have Hamzat Chimaev on this list. And fuck it, since we're talking about him, Hamzat Chimaev, for some reason, has this belt. He's done a 185. Him and Paulo Costa. Makes a lot of sense. This is kind of like a unfinished business. Unfinished business. These guys were scheduled before. Costa pulled out in true Paulo Costa fashion. Sorry, I swapped shirts. That shirt was really uncomfortable, but still. Paulo Costa versus Hamzat Chimaev. Listen, Paulo Costa looked extremely good in his last fight. Like, fucking extremely good against Mirzakhanov. Costa might win that. It's, I don't know, it could be a 3-rounder, you know. Honestly, I would not be surprised if Hamzat Chimaev just never fights again. He just never fights again. Now, if you want to make the argument, oh, well, Hamzat was cutting a load of weight. Of course he couldn't fight that often. Then he shouldn't be in the division. First of all, he shouldn't be in the division. Never mind being a fucking champion, okay? Now, listen, I respect Hamzat. He went out there on a shield, but he was mentally broken at the end of that second round. And we've seen this from Hamzat in the Kamaru Usman fight as well. When Chimaev just can't ragdoll you in the first round, he gasses out, and a lot of the time, he just kind of stands in front of you, doesn't shoot the takedowns like he used to. He got away with it in the Dricus Duplessis fight because he was able to recover in just non-stop crucifix, throwing no output, just kind of sitting on DDP. But Chimaev fell off, man. Chimaev fell off. And as someone who was a massive Chimaev fan the last couple of years, I really wanted Chimaev to really push on and be the GOAT, be that guy, be the fucking person that you always were meant to be. The guy who slams people on their head. The guy that was just absolute dominating force in the division. That fought literally twice in 1 week. We just never got that. I do think the fact that Chimaev got all this money, success, and everything like that definitely played a factor into his hunger, his ability to push through those hard training sessions. And I feel like that's why we see Chimaev gas out. Also, I kind of feel like the weight cutting is an issue. But you shouldn't be in the division. And never mind be a fucking champion, bro. We need middleweight moving. And now that we have Sean Strickland at the top, we will be seeing an active champion. Now, he probably won't fight for the summer. He took an awful lot of damage in that fight. But Chimaev versus Costa, I'd probably go Paulo Costa. Is that ridiculous to say? Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, recency bias, man. Whoa, Paulo Costa, man. He got knocked out by Izzy, bro. What are you talking about, dude? Paulo Costa looked extremely good against Mirzakhanov. And this is 205. Yes, Chimaev might be just complete another animal at 205. I'm not convinced by that. I'm not convinced to say that Hamzat Chimaev, who's notorious for gassing out and not being able to cope in the later rounds, is going to compete with a Paulo Costa, who's looking extremely crafty at range, looking very good with his hands and his low kicks. I'm not convinced that Hamzat Chimaev is just going to pick him up and just kind of slam him down. You could make the argument that Chimaev at a new weight class is just going to be looking like a completely different animal. I think that's a fair argument to make, but still, I think the fact that Paulo Costa has looked incredibly good in his last performances, the fact that Chimaev is just coming off a loss, I feel like it's very hard to count Paulo Costa out in this fight. I really do. And I feel like Costa's ability to mix in the kicks, I was going to say takedowns, I was like, wait, that's not true. Paulo Costa's ability to mix in his kicks. He's got a lot of power, and he's a big fucking dude. He's settling into the light heavyweight division. Mirzakhanov was an incredible win, by the way. Okay, guys? Can we just accept how good of a win that was for Paulo Costa? That was a fucking incredible win. And I feel like Chimaev would struggle a lot with leg kicks, because you haven't seen Hamzat Chimaev versus leg kicks in his entire career. How is Hamzat Chimaev going to deal with leg kicks from a bigger opponent as well? How is Hamzat Chimaev going to deal with those later rounds with that extra body weight? You don't know what Hamzat Chimaev is going to be like. Maybe he might have more gas. Maybe he's going to tire even more. Who knows? It's one of those we have to see Chimaev in the cage before we make any judgment about what his next step is at the light heavyweight division. But I would love to see this fight. I think Paulo Costa is a great opponent for Chimaev to come back in against. I was thinking Yuri Prochazka. Maybe a Yuri Prochazka would be cool. I remember there was rumors of Chimaev versus Yuri Prochazka for the 205 belt. That would have been insane. Listen, if Hamzat can go in there and fix his gas tank like he did, go 5 rounds against Dricus, just absolutely no resilience, so he could go 5 rounds. Look what happened the second someone gave a bit of resilience in there. Chimaev folded. Chimaev's never been one to deal with resilience in his entire career because he got so used to just picking people up, smashing them, and submitting them. And I miss that Hamzat Chimaev. I want Hamzat to be that guy. I want Chimaev to be that guy. But we probably won't see Chimaev in there until like March or April. That's the reality. Another year outside the cage. Is that what you want as champion? Is that what you really want? Or do you want someone who's absolutely entertaining on the mic, who actually says some really good shit and a lot of people are relating to? Because that's what really gets you in on fighters, is being able to relate to these guys. That is literally what is making you a fan of someone. Maybe you like their funniness, but that's drawing you in, their personality. A lot of people are fucking with Sean Strickland because of the real shit he says. And I'm one of those people. But yeah, Chimaev versus Paulo Costa would be a sick fight. Maybe Costa could maneuver him with the leg kicks because we've never actually seen Hamzat Chimaev deal with any sort of resilience on a leg kick. So that would be hella interesting. But Joshua Van. God damn, Joshua Van is a slick boxer. Listen, there's no secret. There's only one fight to make. Alejandro Pantoja. And listen, I had my opinions on this fight the first time. I thought that Joshua Van wasn't experienced enough. I thought Pantoja was on a roll. And I always said Alexandre Pantoja is probably the most underrated champion we have on the current roster at the moment. But after seeing Joshua Van put on that level of performance against Tatsuro Tura, I am going to be picking Joshua Van to win. Now, I must say, Tatsuro Tura definitely opened up some doors that Alexandre Pantoja can exploit with the grappling. You're getting taken down in the first takedown, and in the first takedown, Tatsuro Tura is ending up on top. Does make me question, fuck, because we've seen Pantoja submit Brandon Royval. We know has elite level jiu-jitsu. Look at the scrambles in Tatsuro Tura versus Royval, and tell me that's not a hard thing to do, is to submit him. We've seen him submit Kai Kara-France. And even Kai Kara-France, we've seen Kai Kara-France come back against Askar Askarov, who was undefeated Russian wrestler at the time, with the flyweight division. He's got good takedown defense. Pantoja is clearly a level above these guys. And, he, you know, the Moreno fight as well. He was taking Moreno down as well. We can keep going here. But the point is, Joshua Van showed hold in the grappling. But he showed how fucking good his striking is. And he has submission ability. He nearly submitted Tatsuro Tura in there with an arm triangle or something. I can't fully remember it off the top of my head, but I think it was something like a triangle. Some triangular movement. But Tatsuro Tura is as tough as they come. Now, a lot of people are giving out about the stoppage and things like that. I don't really think you can give out about the stoppage. Tatsuro Tura was taking a beating. Would he have went down? Probably not. But is it worth him just losing anyway? But the thing is, a lot of people had a 2-all going into the 5th. So it's whatever you kind of think decides. But I was quite happy with the stoppage just because Tatsuro Tura was taking a lot of fucking damage in there, bro. And I don't think he was going to win. I don't think he was going to win. But Pantoja can exploit a lot of the opportunities that Tatsuro Tura can get into. It was, yeah, Joshua Van got him in a triangle. I remember that. Bro, I haven't seen a fight in like a day, so someone got, yeah. Anyway, Tatsuro Tura definitely showed hold in Joshua Van's grappling. And I think with the level of grappling Pantoja has been showing over the last couple of years, he is bound to get in a good position. Will Joshua Van get submitted in that position? That's my big question, because Joshua Van clearly is going to fucking butcher Pantoja in the boxing. Some of the fucking punches Pantoja throws, he throws like this. You cannot do that against Joshua Van. Like, at all. That was my big worry. You can laugh at me here, but I had worries about the Askar Askarov fight, even though, not Askar Askarov, Kaya Sakura, even though I picked Pantoja via second round submission, or whatever round it was. You cannot go in there with that low guard against Joshua Van, because Joshua Van has aim assist. When he lands with 4 or 5 solid combinations, and his boxing is just so smooth. It's actually one of the crispiest boxers I have ever seen in the flyweight. Fuck flyweight, actually. Joshua Van is the top 3 boxer in the UFC at the moment. You will never change my mind about that. But he's so good on the feet. But like most people who are unbelievable on the feet, they have that lacking ability to really grapple. And Pantoja is so good on the ground, bro. He is incredible. Now, I feel like the year-long layoff as well is going to play in Joshua Van's favor. The fact he's got that confidence beating Tatsutara, the fact he now feels he is the champion. I feel like this is a bad night for Pantoja, and I feel like this is going to be the last time we see Pantoja in the cage. And I think that would be shit. I think that would be shit because I thought Pantoja was one fight away from even accomplishing a double champ fight, even though they don't do them anymore, which is fucking retarded. Pantoja was one fight away from maybe moving up and fighting Ian or Merab at the time. He had the belt when Pantoja was champion. And I felt like that was a massive thing. I don't think Pantoja is going to come back and look any better. That's the thing. Joshua Van is improving. Joshua Van went from a very, very scrappy short notice fight against Banner Royval to a almost clinic, I would say, against Tatsutara. When he knocked Tatsutara down the second round, that's when everything changed. That's when Joshua Van really found his confidence, really found his range. And I don't know if Tatsutara ever fully recovered from that right hand. I really don't. So, listen, it's no-brainer. I'm going to go with Joshua Van on this one. I'm going to go with Joshua Van via second round TKO. Maybe Pantoja gets him in a bad position early, and then Joshua Van maybe rides out the round. Maybe even he rocks Pantoja in there. Pantoja is a different animal on the ground, bro. It all depends on the Pantoja we see coming back. That's the thing about me. But next up, Sean Brady putting on an absolute clinical performance. Now, if you watch my previous video, I thought Mike Mallet versus JDM made a lot of sense. But then I thought, wait a minute. JDM took a shitload of damage. JDM is probably not going to be back till the end of the year. Sean Brady and Mike Mallet took no damage between them. But now we've got two of the top 10 just coming off very good wins, both looking very impressive. Why not run this? Why not run this? Because Sean Brady isn't necessarily going to be in a position to fight up with Carlos Prates, JDM, and Michael Morales, and Ian Gary being the ones, and Bilal Muhammad, if we want to get into who's actually above him. They've either got wins, they just fought, or they're going to be fighting for the belt. They've got wins over him, just fought, or going to be fighting for the belt. So Sean Brady's not in a position to really fight up. I think Mike Mallett's a great fight to keep him busy. And I think he would fucking butcher Mike Mallet. Now, I want to see this Roblox character nowhere near. So he's ranked 11. I don't want to see him anywhere near the top 10, bro. He's not someone I want to see in the top 10. Sean Brady is someone I want to see in the top 10. Is Sean Brady the most entertaining fighter of all time? No. But the problem with Sean Brady is Sean Brady could be so entertaining on the ground, but he's just so focused on volume on the ground. Take your time and land the elbows. Anytime Sean Brady was landing some sort of an elbow on Buckley, he was doing damage. But he was just on top, laying fucking elbows, or fucking raining down punches that were doing no damage, just hitting Buckley's guard. Fights are never going to be stopped like that. If you are just mashing elbows that are getting through Buckley's guard, A, you probably would have finished them. B, you probably could have been looking to fight up at some stage. And C, it would have been way better, bro. It would have been way more entertaining. But picking up a boring enough win over Joaquin Buckley, coming off a loss to Kamaru Usman, doesn't do a whole lot for Sean Brady, considering he got flatlined by Michael Morales in this stage of his career. Now, I don't think a Mike Mallet wins does anything but project Brady back into that top 5. Like, Brady was, I said this a long time, bro. Sean Brady is the best grappler in the 170 division apart from Islam Makhachev. If Makhachev moves up, fuck me, Sean Brady has a good chance of being champion. But he is quite undersized for 170. That's the thing. He's not a big 170 as regards height. He's just kind of like wide. He's just a bit like a chode or something. He's built weird, Brady. I do think Brady's grappling is the best at 170 outside Makhachev. I don't think there's anybody even close to Sean Brady's ability to control people on the ground. If he worked on that ground and pound, you have to give him credit. He did finish Leon Edwards. I believe he finished Calvin Gastelum. But he couldn't have finished Joaquin Buckley. If he just gets that tidy up on that ground and pound to where he's able to land really vicious elbows and really make his opponents bleed, I struggle to see anybody beating Sean Brady. Because I've always been high on Sean Brady, bro. I've always been high on Brady's ability. But the confidence is an issue as well. He's talked about that, but I do think he's getting there with that. All in all, it was a good performance from Brady. It was a great one. I picked Buckley in the fight because I looked at Buckley and I was like, you did very well against Kamaru Usman. You have shown good ability to get back to your feet. Or no, sorry, he did very well against Colby Covington, not Kamaru Usman. What the fuck am I talking about? He did very shit against Kamaru Usman, but you did very well against Colby Covington. You have shown ability back to your feet. And I was like, Usman is one of the best wrestlers of all time. Now, where the fuck Usman's gone, I don't know. But still, Usman is one of the best wrestlers of all time. You know, Sean Brady did just get knocked out, and Buckley has a lot of heavy hands. I thought Buckley was going to win. Brady did extremely well. Brady proved me wrong. And I think Mike Mallet, as much as he's heavy-handed, I think Sean Brady will get him against that cage, and once he gets him down, Mike Mallet ain't getting back up. I don't think Mike Mallet's going to be able to get back up, bro. I think Brady's ability to control people is just too much for Mike Mallet. I really do. I feel like it's too much for a lot of these guys. If you're able to do that to Leon Edwards, and you're able to do that to Joaquin Buckley. And the thing is, bro, Sean Brady was having moments against Bilal Muhammad on the feet. A lot of people forget, man, that Brady was landing viciously. Not viciously, but he was scissoring. That sounds so bad. He was absolutely landing on Bilal Muhammad. I'll just leave it at that. Scissor hands Edwards, that's what I was thinking of. He was absolutely landing on Bilal Muhammad. And if he just landed a few more elbows against Buckley, it would have been such a different fight, bro. Stop just raining punches when they're just hitting this guard, doing no damage apart from just tiring you out. Some low IQ there from Brady. But I think Brady's a fucking beast. And I think Brady's going to be so hard to stop in that division with that grappling, bro. It's going to be maybe him and Shavkat. We don't really know where Shavkat is at the moment. Shavkat needs to fight again. But still, speaking of the devil, Joaquin Buckley and Michael Venom Page. Jesus, when the fuck did MVP get knifed? Michael Blade Page, more like. Good fight. Interesting fight. MVP is known for having not great wrestling. Logan Storley really showed that outside of the UFC. And Ian Gary kind of showed it in the UFC. Joaquin Buckley is the most hit and miss fighter of all time. He'll just like knock out Vicente Luque and then get knocked out by Chris Curtis and shit like that. Like, and then he'll just put on like a masterclass against Colby Covington. And it's just so annoying. Because I want Buckley to do so well. He could have knocked out Ian Gary. But after looking at how decimating Carlos Prates has been and stuff like that, it does make you wonder just how good is Ian Gary. See, I'm Irish, so I have to like Ian Gary, unfortunately. But Joaquin Buckley versus Michael Venom Page. Very tricky fight to call. I'd probably pick Buckley in this fight, but I think this is a sick fight, and I think we could even main event this in England. I think that would be an absolutely incredible fight. I want to see Buckley do well, but Buckley's never going to do well with no ability to get back to his feet, with no scrambles, with no submission attempts, or ability to submit off his back. He has absolutely no scrambles. That's the thing about Joaquin Buckley. No ability to get back to his feet, no hip thrust to get back to the cage even when he's up there. He has nothing, bro. He is nothing when he gets taken down, bro. He just accepts being down. Now, in fairness, in the Colby fight, he was able to get up, but I think we all know Colby Covington has been overrated for years. And the best part about Colby Covington's career was losing to Kamaru Usman. If we're just being real, that's what he's most known for. Whereas Michael Venom Page, Logan Storley had a lot of success up against the cage. I don't think Buckley's going to fight like that. But Ian Gary took him down. Now, I don't think Ian Gary is a wrestler. That's the problem. But I also think Michael Venom Page is very, very fucking hard to beat on the feet. But the problem with fucking Michael Venom Page is Michael Venom Page, unless you are a fucking can begging to be knocked out and put on a silver platter in front of you, Michael Venom Page is boring as fuck. He'll take no risks and just jumping jack his way to a decision with a long low kick and an odd jab and nice head movement. He never puts himself in harm's way, and sure as fuck won't put himself in harm's way in front of someone like Joaquin Buckley, who has the hands and has the striking. It would be an interesting fight. Buckley would commit, which does open up opportunities for MVP. But no, I don't think MVP's that good. He's very technically sound and very sharp on the feet. But Michael Venom Page will never put himself in harm's way. That's the problem with MVP. But it's a good fight. I like it. Make it next. The most underrated fighter I have ever seen in the UFC, Alexander Volkov. I would love to see him versus Josh Hockett. Now, I know Josh Hockett is fighting Derek Lewis, but he's going to fucking just chin Derek Lewis. If we're just being honest, okay, let's stop like we're giving Derek Lewis a chance here. Volkov, though, is one of the craftiest fighters I have ever seen in the entire UFC. Arguably the craftiest fighter in the UFC. I honestly believe that. And I'm so glad he beat Waldo Cortez Acosta, because people were acting like Waldo Cortez Acosta was literally, no joke, the fucking second coming of Jesus Christ himself in the heavyweight division. I'm sorry, but do we just forget that Tom Aspinall is champion? Do we forget how good Tom Aspinall is? You probably have, considering John Jones ruined his entire name. But Josh Hutchett versus Alexander Volkov, it's the only fight that makes sense outside of Volkov getting the winner of Gan and Pereira and Tom. Whoever ends up with the belt at the end of all of this, that's who Alexander Volkov should be fighting. The fact he beat Cyril Gane as well, if we're just being completely honest, the fact that he beat Gentle Almeida, the fact that he beat Sergey Spivak, the fact that he just beat Waldo Cortez Acosta, he's picking up the craftiest wins. Probably one of the best, not probably, one of the best heavyweight resumes of all time. Arguably the second best. I think Alexander Volkov is probably a better heavyweight than Stipe Miocic. Stipe beat Junior Dos Santos and like DC and things like that. But like, look at Volkov's resume, bro. Look at that shit. That is, now keep in mind he beat Cyril Gane. Honestly, Stipe Miocic doesn't beat Cyril Gane. Stipe doesn't beat Volkov, bro. Am I wrong? Am I wrong in saying that Alexander Volkov beat Stipe Miocic? I really don't think that that's a crazy statement. And when I say Curtis Blades, sorry, I don't know if I said he won. Obviously, Volkov lost to Blades in the decision, but still, I know he got chinned by Derek Lewis, but he was just winning. And if you know Derek Lewis, you know. Volkov has a better resume than Stipe Miocic. I don't actually think that is I don't even think that's a hot take, to be honest with you. It's just the fact that Stipe was a defending champion. You kind of have to give it to Stipe as regards. He's higher on the GOAT list than Volkov. It's true. But Volkov is arguably better and has a better resume. Just Stipe was in the heavyweight division at a good time, if we're being honest. He would get fucking flatlined by Tom Aspinall in the first exchange, if we're just being real. But Volkov versus Josh Hutchett. Josh Hutchett might get in his face, but I don't want Josh Hutchett to run into this wall of the Waldo Cortez Acosta where fighting Volkov is different. It's different, especially if you're going to go in there and stand with Volkov. Volkov is like 6'9", bro. 6 foot something fucking huge anyway. And he is so crafty at range. Now, he did look a little bit slower. Bro, anybody that says Waldo Cortez Acosta won that fight has no idea what they're watching. They're not MMA fans. Okay, we'll leave it at that. But Volkov is crafty at range, and I feel like the low kicks against Josh Hutchett would add up quick. And Josh Hutchett doesn't exactly have insane power. He wasn't be able to put out Blades, and if you look at the way Blades got dropped by Aspinall in the first exchange, even the way Derek Lewis knocked out Blades and things like that, fuck me, that was a brutal KO. Josh Hutchett's power probably just isn't up there. It probably just isn't up there, bro. And I would go with Volkov on this one. I think this fight could genuinely happen next. If Volkov doesn't get the title shot, you can't really give it to anybody else over Volkov. That's the first thing. And B, Josh Hutchett's right there. This is how you get Josh Hutchett into a title fight. Give him Volkov. Bro, there's so many good fights to make. What do we think about all these fights, boys? Am I deluding saying all this? What way would you matchmake this? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching.